What is going on, my Oklahomies? Jameson here. Today we are going to be at Memorial Park Cemetery in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yes, second weekend in a row. I'm hitting up T-Town, but there's a lot of great stuff here in Tulsa. Cemeteries, I'm not going to say are so great, but you know, sometimes you come across them that they have reminders of elements in life, whether it was in entertainment or headlines that just really pulled at our heartstrings. Cemeteries hold those memories sometimes for us, and you know, and no matter what way that they touched us, if they entertained us, they made us laugh, made us cry. Sometimes you can find those memories in a cemetery, and that is the biggest reason I do like visiting cemeteries. Sometimes I can find people who you know, touched my life in one way or another. But today we are at Memorial Park Cemetery. We're going to visit some graves. We're going to go along today. We're going to see what we can find. So let's go around with Jameson and we'll see what we can find out, guys. Stay tuned. This one I'm at right now is the gravesite of Mr. Gailard Sartain. He was an accomplished actor. He was a lifelong resident of Tulsa. He played in a lot of good movies throughout the years. Very comedic actor. Some of the movies he played in throughout the years was The Outsiders. He played Jerry, the school teacher, in the scene where the church burned down and the boys ended up going to the hospital. He was riding on the ambulance with Pony Boy and telling him he shouldn't smoke, although he was smoking a cigarette himself. For all you Ernest fans, he appeared in a few of the Ernest movies. Played real silly characters throughout the years. I personally am a big fan of the movie Fried Green Tomatoes. He played Ed in that movie, the husband of the Kathy Bates character Evelyn. He also played the sheriff in the movie Mississippi Burning. But a lot of people, a lot of the old folks that were big fans of the show Hee Haw, he starred in the show Hee Haw. Gailard and his wife Mary they got married 1988 on New Year's Eve, and they remained married for 36 years until Gailard sadly passed away on June 19th, 2025 here in Tulsa. He died of natural causes, but when his wife gave a statement, she, in all good humor, she said he died of silliness. That is probably a good way to honor and remember the legacy of Mr. Gailard Sartain. But here's his gravesite. And Mr. Sartain, me personally, I want to thank you for entertaining me all of my childhood, my young adult life. I was always a big fan of yours. I didn't realize you were even a fellow Oklahoman until I grew up. So that's really cool knowing that one of the most memorable actors from my childhood was actually from here in my home state. So may you rest in peace. Hello everyone, we are now at the gravesite of notorious comedian Sam Kinison. Those who knew or remember Sam Kinison might recall that he was a controversial individual for his time. He was a former minister turned comedian. Got his he started out in Houston, Texas. He got his big break working with Rodney Dangerfield on HBO. And this guy he was ahead of his time. But you'll see a lot of memes about him now. See a lot of clips about him now in the social media era. Just because, you know, well, his presence back then obviously fit in with the politically correct or incorrect atmosphere of our society today. He had a lot of fans. A lot of people enjoyed his content. They enjoyed his work. He knew how to really draw in the crowd, knew how to make people like him or hate him. Him and his wife were on their way to a show in Nevada, and a juvenile, believe was intoxicated, crossed over the center line and unfortunately struck him. Sadly, though, he passed away. I believe he was in his early 30s when he died. But this is the gravesite of comedian Sam Kinison. We are now at the gravesite of famous country music star Roy Clark. Roy Clark was really well known from the series Hee Haw. He was regarded as Entertainment of the Year, I think, multiple times by the Country Music Association. Phenomenal. Hee Haw was a really fun show. Of course, by the time I was born, I only got to see like reruns of it, but I mean, very entertaining, just very family-friendly entertainment. Just like so many that's buried here that we visited so far. Mr. Clark made his home here in Tulsa, and that is where he lived until he died. But this here is the gravesite of country music legend Roy Clark. All right, right now we are at the gravesite of very well-known singer, rock and roll, blues, country. He kind of did a little bit of it all. He kind of did a little bit of it all. That is Leon Russell. He inspired lots of musicians, 6 gold albums, 2-time Grammy winner. This guy right here, I mean, he was a legend. And I was driving by just a little while ago. I didn't even realize he was buried here. It's just right off the road here. Just happened to look at it and I was like, wow, that is Leon Russell. He has a real beautiful headstone. Real beautiful. Shape of a piano. Tribute to his very well-renowned skills in music. But yep, this right here is Leon Russell, and he's buried here at Memorial Park in Tulsa. Quite a legend. Quite a legend. He's been gone nearly 10 years now, but he left his mark in the music world for sure. I mentioned earlier that some of the grave sites that I choose to visit when I'm doing these journeys, usually ones that represent something historical. They represent a time where we were all entertained, we got laughs, or just moments of joy. And then there are these grave sites that pull at our heartstrings because the stories behind them are very sad and tragic. And the gravesite I'm standing before right now is one of those stories. And that is the story of 3 little girls who were ruthlessly, sadistically taken from this life at such tender young ages. A senseless crime that happened in northeast Oklahoma on June 13th, 1977. That tragedy, Oklahoma and the rest of the world will forever know as the Girl Scout murders. This is the gravesite of Lori Lee Farmer. Lori Lee Farmer was only 9 years old. She was the youngest of the 3 victims. There were 3 girls in that tent. And I'm not going to go into the details. You all, if you've heard the story, you know enough details. I'm going to spare the details. The crime was tragic enough, but this visit right here is wanting to come pay my respects to the grave of someone who should have lived a very long, long and happy life. And it was robbed of her. It was robbed of her loved ones. Innocence was taken from everybody that was in camp that day. Someone was arrested for the murder of the 3 girls. Jean Leroy Hart. They had his trial. They did not convict him of it. He was sent back to prison because he did escape prison one time. And he died just shortly after he was sent back to prison. Dropped dead of a heart attack. That was a very interesting case when they had it. A lot of people to this day do not think that Jean Leroy Hart was responsible for killing the girls. There was all kinds of things said. I'm not going to get into it. One thing I will say was DNA testing that was performed in 2017 would strongly suggest that he was involved in the crime. But as of today, this crime remains officially unsolved. Such a sad case here. Very sad. Lori's parents, Bo and Sherry Farmer. Bo is a retired physician here in Tulsa, but both of them have been real big advocates when it comes to justice for murdered children or missing children. The other 2 victims in the Girl Scout murders are not buried in this cemetery. Doris Milner is buried in a cemetery, I believe, north of Tulsa. Michelle Goose she was cremated after she died, and after her mother passed away a few years back, her remains were interred with her mother at the Fort Gibson National Cemetery there in Fort Gibson. That's where her remains are. But since I was here at Memorial Park today, I did remember that Lori was buried here. I did want to come pay my respects to Lori Farmer. Just such a tragic part of Oklahoma's history, especially in the especially when it comes to notorious crimes that were committed here. I mean, unfortunately, it's sad that 3 little girls have to be remembered for such a senseless and tragic thing, but this is the grave of one of the Girl Scout murder victims, Lori Farmer. Lori, may you rest in peace. Well, we have visited some famous graves, an infamous grave. Yeah, I just wanted to bring you all along today on this journey. Wanted to pay my respects, look at the final resting place of some icons, pay my respects to the gravesite of Lori Lee Farmer. Probably not an icon, but had she lived a long, long life, she could have possibly well been the next icon of some sort. Could have, no telling where life could have taken her if she wasn't tragically taken. Well, there you have it. This will conclude my visit at Memorial Park today. Thank you for hanging around with me today. There's going to be more to come soon. Just continue to stick around with Jameson. Thank you for watching. If you would like to see more videos, hit that subscribe button and follow us on Facebook.